Good afternoon, folks. I'm your host, James, aka Jim Lettuce. This is the official Temporary Space Podcast. On this show, we only care about two things, technology and entertainment, and how these two industries affect each other. You can download the latest episode of the podcast on our Soundcloud or check out the archive on Mixcloud and our official network channel on YouTube. Just go to TemporarySpace.net. That's www.TemporarySpace.net. No caps, one word. I designed that website to be easy to remember. Hopefully, it'll work. As usual, I will go over a list of topics based on articles I find on the internet, and I will touch on the industry trends that I see, and I will make predictions based on those trends. Then, after a short break, we will have our first guest, Myles Dunhill. Stay tuned. Alright, let's get started. Now, bear with me, kids. This is my first podcast by myself. I mean, I've done podcasts before. I actually have a very successful podcast with Myles Dunhill, our guest. It's called What's New to Netflix Instant. You can check it out. There will be a link in the description. You can search us on Facebook. Anyways, what I'm saying is this is my first time recording my own podcast, so it's going to be a little longer, a little bit slower. But I want it to be known that the end goal of this is to be an hour to an hour and a half, or maybe just 30 minutes. I can't decide. If there's anything I've learned from podcasting and making online content, is that it's best left to organically evolve itself. So what I'm saying is between 30 minutes to an hour, hour and a half. That's what I'm going for here, total. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get started on the first topic. Our first trend for the day is cloud computing. In my opinion, cloud computing is officially taking over. Now, this isn't anything new. Cloud computing has been a thing for the last 5 years. But I'm a millennial. I was born in 1986. Apparently, that's as old as you can be and still be a millennial. I remember how hard it was to store stuff. I remember floppy disks. When I was a little kid, disks were actually floppy and they held like 5 megabytes. It was awful. Now we have cloud computing, and basically, if you're an idiot and you don't know what cloud computing is, it's a hard drive in the sky, right? And it's become a service now. You can have your own cloud. I know, what is it? Microsoft, you can get your own cloud if you want. It's not really financially practical at this point. You're better off paying for a service. There's so many. Google Drive is what I'm talking about today. There's what else? Dropbox is a very good service. I'm actually fixing to pay for that soon. Microsoft has one called OneDrive. They're all basically the same service. It just depends on which brand you like better. Google Drive is the subject of this article, though. It's Evernote adds Google Drive integration. I don't really know what Evernote is. I'm going to take a wild guess. It's some kind of a Word document, PowerPoint creation kind of thing. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Anyways, they're adding official integration, and so I've noticed this trend is that cloud computing is taking over because big name brands like Evernote, even though I don't know what it is, I've heard of it, they're integrating it. And when things become integrated, they become standard. And that is always good for consumers. Now, this can backfire with companies like Apple, where instead of integration, they take it to the nth degree. And that's when you get this walled garden thing where, like with Apple, it's like, all right, you're going to use iTunes for music on our device, period, end of story, no third party. Then the other end of that is Android, where you can use anything you want. But in the interest of this podcast, we'll talk about standardization, and that's what's making this work. It's standardizing Google Drive into this known brand, and more people are going to use Google Drive. Furthermore, I think Google Drive, they're doing it right. They're making it free. Now, it's not completely free. Nothing is free, ladies and gentlemen, kids. When you get something for free, they're usually paying for it especially nowadays, by harvesting your data. That's why Facebook is free. It's free because there's algorithms counting every time you like something, every time you talk shit about something, and there's definitely an Orwellian negativity to that. But I'm not going to go into that. But it is free for the first 15 gigabytes. You get it free with a Gmail account. These days, who does not have a Gmail account? That itself is free as well. I would buy the Google Drive. You can pay something per month to get a terabyte. I would pay for that, but sorry, Dropbox is cheaper. I prefer Google, but Dropbox is just cheaper. You can pay annually. It's like, $200 for a year, and you get a terabyte, something like that. As a content creator, that is super cheap. If you're just a regular person, I don't know if you would pay for it. You might only need the 15 gigabytes that Google gives you. Anything else, you shouldn't store pictures and video, though. That should still be on your own hard drive, just because that takes up so much space. So I guess what I'm saying is that cloud computing is the most useful with documents and maybe a little bit of audio, just because it doesn't take up much space. I use Google Drive basically for my business, the Temporary Space Network. So I recommend it. Yeah, I think that's all for this trend, cloud computing. Let's move on to the next topic. Virtual reality is growing whether we are ready or not. I'm leaning a bit more towards the not ready because it's not financially ready, in my opinion. VR, it's coming out. If you've heard about Oculus Rift, they have completely fucked themselves. The release is awful. People are hacking it. They just didn't do it very well. And I think it's hurting VR. It's hurting the reputation of VR. As a millennial that I mentioned earlier, I was born in the 80s, okay, but I grew up in the 90s. I don't really remember the 80s. I remember a few commercials here and there, but I came of age in the 90s, and VR was the thing in the 90s. They had, if you go watch old 90s movies, there's people doing VR, movies like Lawnmower Man, and I believe VR will be that awesome. It's almost there, but it's not there yet. I think it's going to be another year or two before it's an actually financially profitable kind of thing. As I mentioned earlier, the Oculus Rift, they screwed up. The HTC Vive, they're doing it the best, but it's a high-end thing. Only enthusiasts and rich people are going to do it. The masses are not going to adopt it. However, the savior of VR, maybe, is the PlayStation VR. And the reason I think they're going to do the best is because Sony has decades of experience with consumer electronics and just releasing them and doing them right and making them comfortable. That being said, the PlayStation VR is the weakest out of all of them. That's going to hurt it a little bit. We'll just have to see. I think it's coming out in November. Anyways, I digress. The article I'm doing here is some game company that I've never heard of called Star VR is partnering with Acer. Now, this is kind of like the topic earlier. This is integration branding. This is a good move for Star VR. It's a good move for Acer. They're basically creating their own headset, which is good. It's another competitor. As I mentioned earlier, there's only about 3. There's Oculus Rift, which is owned by PlayStation. No, hold on. That's wrong. Oculus Rift is owned by Facebook. Sony VR, obviously that's PlayStation. And HTC Vive is owned by Valve. Valve is the company that makes Steam. You've probably heard of Steam. Steam is the forerunner for digital distribution of video games. It's not really the best one anymore. It's kind of like McDonald's. It was the first one, the most prominent one. Now there's other ones that are a little better. However, it's still so mainstream, people like me use it anyways. Oh yeah, not to mention HoloLens, which is Microsoft. HoloLens is not virtual reality, it's augmented reality, or AR. The only difference is AR, it kind of overlays it onto what you're looking at. You're looking through glass, and it puts stuff on it, like when you see a title over something, or perhaps name tags. But VR has kind of circumvented that by putting cameras on them, so it's basically AR at this point. I think Microsoft's HoloLens will be awesome if it ever comes out. Just like Google Glass, they announced it like 3 years too early. I mean, sure, you want to announce stuff, you want investors, but they hyped it up with these, these real produced and specifically marketed videos, and it hurts it because it builds it up as this thing that it's not there yet. But so I guess we'll have to see what happens when Sony drops. I think that it's kind of hinging on that. I don't know if they completely screw up. VR, as I said, the trend is VR is growing whether we're ready or not. If Sony completely screws up, they're not going to stop making VR. VR is a thing people have been dreaming about for 15, 20 years. Even if it completely goes haywire, they're not going to everyone's not going to go, oh, guess that didn't work out. I guess we'll just stop making VR. No. It's going to take a while. It's going to be another year or two. I personally am going to wait till version 2 of... I'm probably going to get Sony VR just because I have a PlayStation. That's another thing. PlayStation they're so smart. Sony is because it's integrated with the PlayStation, a console. Something that it's like 40 million people have a PlayStation. That is what's going to get the mainstream audience into VR. Let's hope they don't screw it up too bad. But like I said, they're not going to stop making VR. Even AR, they're going to keep doing it. So hopefully it'll be awesome. I think that's the end of this topic. We'll move on to the third trend, which has to do with entertainment. This is not just a technology podcast. As I said earlier, it's technology and entertainment. So the third trend is finally, all the major TV entities are going online. The specific article has to do with AT&T acquiring a streaming platform called QuickPlay. I've never heard of it. It must be worth something if AT&T acquired it. AT&T is one of the big cable providers. I think they're connected to DirecTV. For any younger millennials or anybody younger than that listening to this, television and cable is this undead zombie that just will not die. It's kind of like the oil industry. There's so much money caught up in it, they just cannot let it go. It's going to slowly die. It's like it's been shot in the stomach. It's going to die a slow, painful death. It's probably going to be another 10, 15 years before it's completely gone away, which is just crazy to me. If you are a CEO of a major television distribution kind of thing like cable, Time Warner, Comcast, whatever, how could you not read the writing on the wall 10 years ago? When Netflix showed up, they changed the game. Netflix is they're like McDonald's, right? Well, actually, that's my next topic. I'll go into that in a second. But Netflix is a trailblazer, online content. That's what people want. People don't like buying stuff in piecemeal, like buying a Blu-ray for $10 or $15, or going to the movie theater where it costs you like $35 a pop. And that's if you buy yourself, let alone a date night, where you also have to get dinner and stuff. On the flip side, and this is why cable is bad, you get this bloated catalog of content where there's like 8 different ESPNs and shit like that. Nobody wants all that stuff, all those random cooking channels that you're never going to watch. That's one of the reasons why TV is dying, it should be dead, is because you have all this extra stuff, all these sponsored product, brand, whatever kind of... All the lawyers got together and figured this out, and then you, the poor schmuck, has to pay like $100 a month to watch like 10% of it. This is definitely a sign that they are finally starting to realize online content with a service, some kind of library catalog that is constantly shuffled around or at least renewed a little bit. This is where it's going. People are going to do this. I heard something else about how they're going to start offering like 3 networks or something, and YouTube has to do with it. I think it's called YouTube Unplugged. Basically, they're finally realizing, holy shit, no one's going to pay for cable anymore. People are cutting the cord left and right. We have to adapt. I don't know, such idiots. They should have done this 5 years ago. So this is good for us that finally the major TV entities are going online. Right now it's mostly Netflix and Hulu, and there's other ones, but I'll get into that to the next topic. Well, yeah, I might as well switch to the new topic now. The next trend, as it were. Netflix is not top dog anymore. Now there's two parts to this trend. I'll get to the second part in a second because I read an article that kind of contradicts this a little bit after I wrote this outline, so I think it's important to mention. But basically, Netflix is not top dog anymore. This brings me back to my McDonald's analogy. Netflix was a trailblazer. They started out mailing movies, and then one day, some smart motherfucker working there was like, hey, I know, let's have a streaming service. And then later on, some other smart motherfucker was like, hey, let's just get rid of the mailing and only have streaming. Right? Because, it's called snail mail for a reason. Plus, Blockbuster is dead, so there's that. This is in part due to other competition. There's Hulu, which is the big Netflix competitor. There's also Crunchyroll, which is anime. And then HBO Go. HBO is smart. They're the only other company that seems to understand. You see, Hulu is competing with Netflix, but it's this weird online TV model, whereas Netflix is its own model. It's more of an on-demand kind of thing. And Hulu's on demand. It's a streaming service. But the way it's set up, they make it hard to find what you want. They're clearly promoting some shows over other shows. They're controlling it, which is why people don't like TV. It's one of the things is that TV, they'll cancel shows that you like, and it's like, what? That's a good show. Why did you cancel it? And it's very confusing. But HBO, they're so smart. They are actually doing it right. They're not trying to control it. They're saying, hey, it's HBO Go. You want HBO stuff? Here's how you get it. And another big reason that it's working for them is because they have a lineup, a library that you actually want. They've got Game of Thrones, ... Nothing else really comes to mind. But I believe that they will continue to make, they're going to start making their own movies just like Netflix is doing. But according to this article from, where is it, Business Insider, Netflix's stock has gone down 22% this year. Holy shit, that is a lot. Businesses lose their mind when stock goes down like 0.5%. Now let me explain, if you're not a business person, I'm not really a business person, but I've started and trying to run a business, so I've learned a lot. Business has nothing to do with past success. It doesn't matter how well your business is doing. It doesn't matter how well your business was doing. It matters how much better your business is doing than before. The point of a business is to make profit and expand indefinitely until it collapses. And so that's what's happening. All the investors are going, holy shit, 22%. It's because it's like I mentioned earlier, this competition. Netflix is not the top dog anymore, and I really believe that Netflix can pull itself out of this. They're making all the right moves by creating their own content. On our What's New to Netflix Instant podcast, we a lot of times we've complained that they make too much new content, but now I'm seeing that they have to make tons of new content if they want to survive. And they're making movie deals with big stars like Adam Sandler. He's got like a 4-movie deal. The second one just came out called The Do-Over. By the way, we will be reviewing that on our other podcast, What's New to Netflix Instant. I'm going to say that title like 8 times, by the way, especially because the guest is Myles. Now let's get to part 2 of this trend. It's not really part 2. It's trend number 4A. Netflix is not down for the count. Now let me pull up my little article. I meant to do that before I started recording, but hey, it's my first time. Where is it? Now this is an extremely smart and strategic move. Whoever decided to make this deal, they should get a promotion and a car and all the hookers they want, because this is crazy. Netflix will be the exclusive home for Disney, Marvel, and Lucasfilm movies starting this September. Oh my god, if there's ever an exclusive deal you want as a streaming company, Disney. Because apparently they own Marvel, we already know that. I guess they own Lucasfilm. But that is just crazy, just especially because Marvel is just cleaning up in the movies lately. In the last few years, comic book movies are obviously a big thing. DC shot itself in the foot, so DC is MySpace and Marvel is Facebook. They're just doing it so much better. Oh my gosh. But I can't believe Netflix, I can't imagine how much money they paid for this deal. This is so smart. Now, remember, Netflix is a streaming service. They probably do product placement and stuff like that, but they do not do ads. Their money comes from monthly subscriptions. That is the main reason streaming services work, because people pay X amount of money per month. This is what made cable companies work. People had to pay a monthly fee. When this Disney thing starts in September, so many people are going to join Netflix. They're going to gain new subscribers. Their stock is going to go up. This almost nullifies my earlier statement about Netflix not being top dog. They're going to be top dog for a while. I mean, if I were Hulu or, also Amazon Prime, that's one I forgot to mention. If I were these companies, or even HBO, I would be sweating bullets right now, because Netflix, as much as I said they're kind of the McDonald's, they're still the McDonald's. They're still a juggernaut of a brand that everybody knows. It's easier to say than the other ones. Amazon Prime, Hulu might beat it just because in terms of like brand recognition, and Hulu's a bit easier to say than Netflix. But wow, I can't get over how good a deal this is. They're going to get the Disney movie, the Disney alone. I mean, forget general audiences. Kid content is bank. That is big money, high roller shit. If you're an actor, anybody in the entertainment industry, you can get in on a kids movie franchise. Holy shit. And that's basically what they're doing. They're cashing in on that Disney child market, and then Marvel, that's going to bring... Oh man, this is crazy. And now Lucasfilm, I hope that means Star Wars, because if Netflix gets the first episode 1, quote unquote, A New Hope. No, it's not a new, hold on, that's the old one. What the hell is the new one? You know, the J.J. Abrams one. The Jedi Order, who knows what it's called. It's called Star Wars, the new one. But if they get Star Wars on this, oh my god, that's so good. So, I'm nullifying the earlier trend. I think Netflix is going to be just fine. This happens in businesses when they have a big success. It kind of goes down for a while. It's cyclical. So hopefully, I think Netflix is going to be just fine. I think that's all for this trend. It's time to move on to the next one. Modular phones are the future. I'm referring to smartphones. Obviously, who the hell has regular phones anymore? I've noticed this trend for a while. Smartphones are taking over. They're versatile. They're becoming things that are not just one thing anymore. It's not just a phone. It's a computer, obviously, but you can, it's a voice communicator. There's a flashlight on it. It's kind of becoming like in Star Trek when they have that little communicator, whatever, and it's like this end-all device that basically does whatever you want. It's a weapon. It can scan your body for sickness. It can communicate. It's a navigator with a map like GPS. It's basically Star Trek. That's where we're headed. But specifically with this trend, modular phones. Now the article talks about Google's modular phone, which it's kind of been this concept you've been hearing about for a few years. It's modular. There's pieces and you flip it out and everyone's like, what? And it still kind of looks like shit. But the reason it's working now is because LG, I'm a big fan of LG, the brand in general, for the record. But LG came out with a phone called the LG G5, and it is modular. There's things you switch out for the battery and the camera. And I think because the success of the LG G5, this Google modular phone is going to take off. It's kind of like, one person saying, oh, this is a good idea, but you don't really know if it's a good idea, but then another person joins, and you say, okay, well, 2 people are doing it now. It must be good enough. Now, usually I do not advocate that kind of sheep mentality, but with technology, it kind of works. Now, that being said, the LG G5, I think that's probably a better modular thing. This Google modular phone still looks very, much like a concept. It is not practical. I don't know why they haven't adapted to the way the LG did it. That came out like a year ago or 6 months ago, which is that's ages in technology. But I think this is the trend that's going to stick. People, tactically, what is it? Tactile. It feels good to switch out cartridges and things like when you do a gun. And it's just going to work. It allows for more functionality of your phone. It means you can get a phone and have it do a bunch of different stuff, but you don't have to settle for some weird model of phone that does all the different stuff. I keep going back to the LG G5. It's more of a camera phone, and I'm a filmmaker. I use my phone for a camera all the time. But I don't really like how it's got like one camera on the back, but there's two cameras on the back. There's like one normal and then a wide angle, and it stitches them together with software, and that's cool. But I don't really like that part about it. I wish the camera part was a bit more modular. So in that regard, the Google phone's probably going to be better than that. I mean, they still have to settle on some kind of form factor. Otherwise, you end up with this Google phone that's just tiles together, which is cool. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think the functionality and the dynamic whatever of the LG G5 is on the right track, and then the Google phone is a little bit closer to the mark, but their form factor is off. So hopefully it'll all get worked out. But that's about all for this trend. Modular phones are taking over. It's not going to be one piece anymore. It's going to be a piece with a bunch of other pieces and adapters. And for the enthusiast, it'll be great. For the everyman, it'll just be slightly more useful. And that's all. Alright, next trend. Physical movie theaters are on their last leg. IMAX is trying to put VR headsets in their theater. I don't know what to make of this. It sort of makes sense on paper, but you know how when you go on the airport and they have like those little crappy headphones and they're all crappy and dirty because other people have used them? That's what's going to happen to these VR things. The public VR doesn't make sense to me because it's something you put on your face. I've heard from other YouTubers and stuff, when they do it for a while, it makes your face all sweaty, and then you go back later and it's like your sweat is kind of cold and dried up, and oh, that's so nasty. I don't think VR is going to work in a public setting ever. I think VR is definitely going to be something personal you do by yourself, that you wear like headphones. You do it individually. It's not something you're gonna. It's not like when the little horse thing at the supermarket where you put a quarter in and everyone rides it. No, thank you. I definitely do not want to put that on my face. I'm sorry, but this is clearly another attempt to get people to go to physical movie theaters. I think it's important to mention I'm a filmmaker, blah, blah, blah. This whole podcast, all my viewpoint is from the viewpoint of a content creator, a filmmaker, a person, and I'm sad to say that I just don't really like movie theaters anymore. I don't really go anymore. I mentioned earlier how expensive it is. That alone is why movie theaters are dying. It's just so expensive. The food sucks. You can't control it. You can't pause. You can't, some people like to smoke when they do it. You can't do that in a theater. It's so constricting and so expensive. It's outdated. The reason people went to movie theaters was because that was the only way you could see it. It was the only way to see the new movie, the new Tom Cruise, the new Humphrey Bogart, whatever. That was the only way. And then TV came around and, physical media like discs, and that's how you have Blu-ray and stuff. That's another story about whether Blu-ray is relevant, but I just don't think the movie theater experience cannot offer you something better than your home, and it's not about quality. They can get the biggest, craziest screen with the most resolution ever, high frame rate, blah blah. It's about control, not quality. I mean, because I can get a TV that's way better, but the TVs I rock right now, the ones that I watch at home, the highest they go, one of them is 720 and the other one is 1080, and I'll tell you right now, everything I watch is usually in 720 anyways because of the internet in America. That's a whole nother story in and of itself. Our internet is just too slow. Streaming 4K or anything beyond 720 is just not going to happen until these cable companies loosen their death grip on the infrastructure. It's slow. There's a few cities that have fiber. Fiber is where it's at, and then you get into gigabit, which is 10 times faster. I think that's what's going to save it. But in regards to this trend, movie theaters they're just not going to last. I mean, they're going to last. Hipsters and people are still going to go. But I just think it's so much more, you have so much more control and you get more for your money when you do it at home. And that includes VR now. I think VR, it's going to replace the monitor eventually. And it's replacing, just like TVs are. God, it's just, they really need to look at the writing on the wall. And that theaters are going to be around, but it's going to be like the fair. It's going to be an expensive thing that you don't do very often. I don't even go to the theater anymore. I do when my friends want to go to a movie, but then again, we don't really do that much. The only other person I go to movies with is Myles, and he's the guy who does the other podcast with me, who's the guest, by the way. Again, mentioned again. But like, me and him will go see a movie sometimes, but that's it. My regular friends will just watch a movie at my apartment, or I'll go to their apartment. And it's just, it's hard for me to reiterate this again. It's just, theaters. Oh, also, there's another thing. The theaters, I heard they were trying, I read some misguided article. They said, well, now, some CEO who clearly has no idea what he's talking about, making decisions from an ivory tower in a boardroom. He said, we're going to allow texting in theaters to get that millennial audience. Okay. If you think texting is why millennials don't go to theaters, like, why would you not go because you can't text? That has nothing to do with it. It's about money. It's about control. I'm not going to go into another rant about it. I'm going to repeat myself. But it's just, movie theaters, they really are on their last leg. They're not going to go away completely. But the main source of entertainment is your home, your smartphone, your VR headset connected to your smartphone. That is the trend I see. That's where it's headed. Anybody that tells you different is wrong, or they have ulterior motives. I don't know if I have anything else on this trend. I was hoping to have a lot more. But, yeah, I guess I'll move on to the next trend. Consoles are turning into PCs. Now, first off, let me describe the differences between a console and a PC. A PC stands for personal computer, in case you're living in a cave. This covers Macs as well. It's basically a computer you use yourself. You don't use it like at a company for your business. It's not some big giant thing. It's something you use for personal use. And a PC is usually, they get upgraded every single year, maybe even less than that. There's always, the joke, when you buy a computer, as soon as you buy it, it's out of date. And that's the way technology goes. There's something to mention about Moore's Law, which is not an actual law. It was a marketing term coined by a guy named Moore, which basically said that things every 2 years, technology gets better and things get smaller and blah, blah, blah. But that has been since debunked because development of computer processors has slowed down to the point where that rule doesn't apply anymore. It's taking them longer than a year or two to improve. But PCs are known for being something that you upgrade on a regular basis. You have to do software updates and hardware updates, and you buy a new model every year or so. And if you're smart, you try to use up the model as long as you can until the next one completely overpowers it, because it's not really a financial, it's not financially viable to upgrade to the new model every time. What you need to do is wait till your model is completely obsolete, and then you buy the new one, because the money you get for the new one, the quality for the money, is going to be so much better. It warrants your waiting, and it warrants that period of being out of date. But I digress. So that's what a PC is. It's something that you update regularly. And then let's get to a console. A video game console like Super Nintendo, 64. That's what I grew up playing. Xbox, PlayStation, those are the big ones. Basically, it's Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo. what is it, Xbox, Microsoft. Those are the three main ones, and they tried to do a thing with Steam machines, which was computers, somewhere in the middle. It didn't work. But consoles. Now consoles, the big difference is that consoles, they are upgraded every like 5 to 7 years. And it seemed like this is a huge argument. It's like in Romeo and Juliet, the Capulets and the Montagues. Like these people, the consoles and the PC master race, they will never agree on each other. And I go back and forth. When I didn't have a console for a while, I was all PC master race. But I gotten into a console again, and I understand the value of both. And consoles, the value of a console is ease of use and a smaller price tag. Those two reasons are the only reasons anybody should have a console. Ease of use and a cheaper price tag. As of now, you can get a console, and it's about the rule of thumb is that console is about half the price of a computer for what you're trying to do. And obviously the console is not going to be as good as a PC because it is half the price. I mean, you get what you paid for, but it makes up for it in ease of use. It's plug and play. You don't have to worry about installing drivers. You don't have to worry about, I mean, you have software updates like a computer, but that's just a given. But the console, the trend I'm talking about, there's an article that talks about the new Xbox. In case you haven't heard, the PlayStation's coming out with the new version. Or hold on, let me backtrack. The reason a console is different is because it upgrades to a new model every 5 to 7 years. But recently, Sony announced they're going to have a new one. It's called the PlayStation Neo or something. It's going to be better. And the big wave-making thing here is that they're breaking the cycle. They're not going to wait another few years to have a PlayStation 5. They're going to jump the gun and say, screw it. It's only been about 3-4 years. Or what is it? I think it's only been 3. They said, screw it, we're going to make a new one. And I think they're doing it because it's just the way technology is. It's just 5 to 7 years maybe isn't enough time. They're falling behind. But I don't know. I'm an Aquarius. That means I'm cursed to see both sides of the argument. And I really understand that consoles having a long lifespan is good because it gives developers a long time period to perfect it. That's why when a console starts, you have a bunch of shitty games and nothing is good. But then by the time it's ending, you have really, really good games. It gives them enough time. Now, they do this on PC all the time. You can make a great game and you just upgrade your hardware. But, the economy kind of sucks, especially as a broke millennial. It's hard for me to upgrade my computer. My fancy editing PC, the one that I'm using to record this podcast, it's a good PC, but it is getting out of date at this point, and I cannot afford to upgrade. And so that makes me kind of appreciate a console that they're going to say, all right, it's going to be like this for like 7 years, and by the end of it, you're going to have a really awesome game. The Last of Us on PlayStation is a good example of that. I don't really like the game, never played it, but it's such a critical success, a financial success, technological success. Oh, even Uncharted 4, which is the same studio, it's Naughty Dog. The PlayStation 4 has been out for like 3-4 years, and they have perfected programming for the PlayStation 4. That's why Uncharted 4 is so good. But this new trend with the PlayStation Neo, and then back to the reason I'm talking about it is this article says Microsoft announced the new Xbox, and it's going to be it's going to be more powerful than the PlayStation Neo is to the PlayStation 4. Basically, they're competing, which is good for us. But important to mention, though, is they're going to have a more powerful one, given competition, blah, blah. But they're also going to have a Slim. And the Slim is something that they've done in consoles before. PlayStation did it. They would have the model, and then they would have a quote-unquote slim version, which isn't really any more powerful, but it's a smaller form factor. And it just, it takes advantage of physical technology that is better. You can just have it smaller, same power, smaller package. But so that also is a given that Microsoft is going to say, oh, we have a slim one. But they also mentioned that they're going to have like a streaming dedicated one. And that's what makes me think consoles are going to turn into PCs. They're multifaceted. There's going to be one for streaming. There's going to be one that's super enthusiast. And then there's going to be the standard one. And if you didn't hear the console part, that sounds like a computer. There's different models for different purposes. There's fancy high-end computers for editing and stuff like that, and gaming. Then there's your standard model of a computer for your daily driver, which is basically a laptop. And then there's really slim down specialized PCs for things like like a DVR. Like, that's basically a computer, right? And so this is the most interesting trend I've noticed. I don't know what it's going to do to the console gaming. Because, listen, if consoles disappeared tomorrow, nobody's going to stop making games. But I don't know if it's good. I think I like, as a former PC Master Race person, I don't know, I'm back and forth. I really like how there's such a long period for them to improve. I like the ease of use. I bought a PlayStation 4 for Christmas. And it was a gift, but I used some of my money. But the point is, I just got one, and I'm not about to get a PlayStation Neo and upgrade whatever. I want to wait another 3 years for the PlayStation 5. I want to see how good can they make these games. That being said, a lot of these consoles, they really are out of date though. I was just playing. I have a gaming channel, so check that out. It's the green one. But the games they have, they're not able to keep up. There's frame rate issues, and it's just like it cannot handle the game that just came out. So I think that's a good reason to upgrade for the company, like to have a new PlayStation Neo or whatever. But I don't know. I think they are turning into PCs, and I think that it is a bad thing for the console market. So yeah, that's the last trend. Now we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have our first guest, Myles Dunhill. It's not the first guest, as if there's some other guest. He's the first one because it's the first episode, but there's not two guests. There's just one guest per episode. And yeah, that's all. Welcome back, folks. This is your host, James, aka Jim Lettuce, and I'm sitting here with our first guest of our first episode, Myles Dunhill.
Hello, I'm Myles.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm really excited.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I really think this is going to be a fun show.
Yes, I think it is too. Now,
and I know you from our other podcast.
Yeah, well, we actually met in college, right?
Yes, we did.
That was many years ago now, which is weird.
Wow. Time flies when you're not having fun.
Yes.
It works both ways, I guess.
Right.
Just time flies no matter what you're doing.
But we should mention the other podcast. It's called What's New to Netflix Instant.
Yep, it's a movie podcast. As mentioned, Netflix. We review movies that come out on Netflix each month. And we also talk about new titles that are coming to Netflix.
Yeah, we kind of go over them, and then we do each one. I got to hand it to you. The structure was quite good.
Yeah, thanks. I kind of studied my movie podcasts and ripped them off and then went off that.
Mm-hmm. Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
We're freeballing it, so...
It's freeballing. Oh, the AC,
yeah.
Right.
We went through a big talk about should we turn off the AC, and I forgot.
Yeah.
So we're just going to do it. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, so that's our podcast. We do it monthly. We did a commentary episode for our year anniversary show, where we watched Scooby-Doo 2. Monsters
That was
Unleashed.
awesome.
Yeah, and I think that was a really good move.
It went really well. I was worried that it would skip or something, but there was no hiccups.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I think one of my friends said he listened to some of it and said that even without watching the movie, it was really entertaining.
Awesome.
So that's good feedback. And we got a new follower today on Tumblr, so...
Fuck yeah.
That's always good to wake up to. hopefully we'll get some more emails. We got our first email last time, which was really unexpected, but I mean, we always put that out there for people to recommend movies.
Yes, and we'll say all the links and emails at the end.
Okay.
Now, I have some questions.
Yep.
First off, you're a musician, right?
That's correct.
You're kind of a musician first, filmmaker second.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't really put rankings on them. I like doing a lot of things.
Because we are trying to make some kind of movie. We won't say the title, but...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's still definitely...
Yes. It's in the works.
It's coming.
It's in the works.
I had someone ask me about it earlier today.
Really?
Yeah, he sent me a message. He's like, I got some production questions for you, but I guess you're busy making your movie. And I was like, close. I'm almost there.
We'll get there. It's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
All right, so... On this show, we care about two things, technology and entertainment.
Okay.
So, I think music is part of that. So,
Definitely.
I want to talk about SoundCloud.
Oh, yeah.
When you explained what C-Punk was,
yeah,
that blew my mind.
Well, actually, I learned something about C-Punk.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I totally forgot what it was, though. C-Punk was actually a play on the word cyberpunk.
Oh.
C-Punk. And then these dudes took that word and made it C, like S-E-A, and had it all nautical themed and shit. But it was really just like kind of music that you would hear like in a hacker movie. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that like hackers, like that 90s cyberpunk sound. Mm-hmm. And a lot of like bedroom producers were doing that, but then throwing in like sounds of dolphins and like water.
Yes. So for those who don't know, C-Punk, it's kind of this musical genre aesthetic that appeared on the internet almost.
Yeah, like in 2011, and then it kind of got like co-opted by the mainstream a little bit. Azalea Banks did like some performance on, or she put out this music video of her like ripping off that imagery, like Windows 95 graphics, dolphins, and then Rihanna did an SNL performance doing the same shit. So It kind of like got out there. It started as a joke kind of, and then it became a legit underground music scene. It's
really, that's why I want to talk about SoundCloud. It's super interesting. There's all these genres just kind of, it's like Ghost in the Shell. They just kind of appear almost sporadically, and it's so awesome.
They pop up and
Let's talk about Vaporwave.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Vaporwave is also cool.
Yeah, Vaporwave is a really interesting genre. It's kind of like based around people slowing down stock music from like the 90s and 80s and even 80s music itself, and it's mostly about this aesthetic of having like kind of a corporate mall centric kind of capitalist society.
Yeah, I think a lot of millennials identify with it because like me, like we kind of grew up not a little bit in the 80s, but the 90s, back when like malls.
Yeah, and computers were kind of becoming bigger too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this turning point. I think like really, if you look at the late 80s, early 90s, it's really a turning point in human history of where we started to have personal computers and technology more available to us that really is informing like everything in our future now.
Yeah, it sure is, and that whole like romanticized idea of what could happen, like movies like Hackers.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. Why all that stuff is so fascinating. Like virtual reality back then, and now it's becoming a reality.
It's an actual thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's what's so cool is like when we were little.
Yeah.
They had movies with virtual reality, and it was like this sci-fi Star Trek concept.
They basically advertised it as being like the final frontier for like human, like we've been to space, where can we go next? Virtual reality.
Yes, the only stop. And now fast forward 20 years and there's porno on it.
Right. Google Glasses porn, which is fun.
Now actually I have a question about VR.
Yeah.
For you. VR is not just like video games. A lot of it is viewing.
Right.
I'm the most interested in surfing the web and watching movies.
Yeah.
But live performances is kind of the thing now.
Oh yeah.
And they're gonna do is put like a 360 camera or whatever. They put it like in the boxing ring. But for concerts as well, would you watch a concert in VR?
I would watch kind of like the concerts that are being done by bedroom producers, because that's a real thing that's happening all the time in my scene, at least, where people will go on Tiny Chat or like some kind of video streaming website where you can chat with people. And like the one venue, SPF 420, has been doing that for a few years and to great success. And they've had so many like producers and electronic musicians that have like really blown up, and they started like from that. So it'd be cool to like actually be in someone's bedroom while they're like making shit.
So they're kind of streaming and they talk in the chat?
Yeah, at the same, like, that's something that they can do. Some people don't, but everyone viewing it is allowed to talk in the chat, and and it's just like another way to experience something, you know.
That's super cool. It's super interactive.
Yeah, everyone, like the host is always like, type 420, guys, like if you like what you're hearing or whatever. And
awesome.
Yeah, and they'll show videos too, like visuals and stuff, like from YouTube, like just random shit,
like YouTube poop kind of stuff.
Yeah, pretty much just anything that's like could serve like a visual backdrop. So I think that would be cool to like bring that into. I mean, going to see like U2 or something probably wouldn't appeal to me. You know?
Yeah, that sounds, and it's gonna be like super expensive.
Yeah. But something that can be like user friendly, like anyone can do it type of thing, that could change like how people experience those kind of shows, at least. And I think that would be cool to see. So okay,
interesting.
I don't know.
Now, speaking of YouTube poop and Vaporwave,
yeah,
I recently discovered something called Simpsonwave.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've heard of that, but I can only guess what it is.
It's Vaporwave, but like with a Simpson flavor, and it really of course, some guy on YouTube made a video about it. That's how I know.
Okay, cool.
And he explained it that it does everything Vaporwave does, but it's all centered around The Simpsons and this idea of like this childhood that we think we wanted or thought we really had, but we didn't really have it.
Right.
But we kind of lived it in shows like The Simpsons and Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
And it's only what they do is they kind of like take it's Vaporwave music.
Okay.
But Simpson YouTube poop style music videos over it.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And there are a lot of like, because it's a cartoon, there was a lot of solid colors, so it's perfect for chroma key.
Oh, cool,
and so they'll like green screen all this random shit in there.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And it's mostly the first 6 seasons of Simpsons.
Those are the best.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like where they have like the 4th of July one.
Right.
Where Lisa's in the blanket.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. I'll say seasons 2 through 9 are the best.
2 through 9?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. I just remember certain episodes like The Shining.
Yeah.
The Shining.
Yeah. The first season's kind of all like
squiggle vision.
Yeah, it's really crude. And then season 2 is where it picks up, and then it just hits that long stride. I think the last good season was the one with like Hank Scorpio, where they go to Shelbyville, was it? No, not Shelbyville. They go to Homer goes to like some futuristic like city, and there's like this big business tycoon, and his name is Hank Scorpio or something.
Is it the guy who was like secretly like a evil like agent
like,
guy?
He's like secretly evil. I forget. It's been so long.
And that's the one where he's like, "Oh, kill a couple guys on your way out."
Yeah.
Yes.
And he works in that building with no walls. It's just like a circular place. He's like, "Here's my coat. Hang it up on the wall."
And he's like super friendly to Homer, but like taking over the world.
Yeah. He's like, "I didn't even give you my coat." And it's like on him backwards.
That's probably one of the best ones.
Yeah. That's like the last great season for me. Then it started getting really shitty, but
it's still on. I can't believe it.
I know. I think The Simpsons should have ended when Futurama started.
Oh yeah.
Because that was better.
Kind of like how Family Guy probably should have ended when American Dad went on the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then those both should have just ended.
Yeah, maybe. Sometimes stuff goes on too long. You gotta just...
Family Guy should have ended when it got canceled. Because those were all good, and then it got really shitty.
Like Seinfeld? Did Seinfeld end?
That ended on a high note.
Did they?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, that's the way to do it. Because Jerry could have made so much money if he brought it back, but he was like, no.
No, he was too busy thinking about his next project about bees.
Bee movie?
Is that what it was?
There's like actually a shirt of the entire script of Bee Movie, really tiny, that you can wear. It's like literally the whole script.
Awesome.
Like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And man. There was like this trend on Twitter to say, like that hashtag, like things I yell when I come, and someone put like the fucking Bee Movie script.
God, it was just so like awful 90s, and it showed his like Seinfeld's like an old school comedian where they kind of zing zing, but you know, like they don't really do that anymore. Some comedians do, and it's cool. But like that movie, they had this awful promo commercial where he's like in a bee suit and he's on a set being like, "Hey, do you guys know how to animate? Come on!"
Man, yeah.
It was just cringy.
Yeah, well, you know, I still like Seinfeld's stand-up though. It's still pretty great. I have a CD of like some of his greatest bits, and I swear to God, I can still put that on with my friends and laugh.
But would you watch his new show where he's like in a car?
Comedians with getting coffee.
Is that what it is?
Cars. I've seen parts of it. It's okay. It's not bad.
I want to like it. But it seems like something he should have just done on YouTube instead of like with a big network somewhere.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I'm more of a Larry David fan.
Okay, well, my next question was Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, that show's awesome. When I was in Boston, I showed it to my friend I was staying with. And the humor didn't exactly go well.
Well, it's not for everyone. It's a very dry. It's kind of like The Office.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I thought, you know, if you like The Office, you'll like this, but it's like a little too cringy for people, I think, sometimes.
Would that qualify as cringe humor or anti-humor?
I think cringe humor.
Okay.
Because it's just uncomfortable situations, you know.
Yeah.
And it's great though. I mean,
see, that's what makes me. I dislike The Office for that.
Okay.
But Curb Your Enthusiasm didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, The Office for me just seems a little too sitcom for me. I don't know.
Is it?
Well, I mean, it's not like the typical 3-camera audience sitcom, but it's still like on NBC.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the subject matter.
Yeah, and Curb Your Enthusiasm is on HBO, and they get away with a lot more. Like, I think some of the cringy humor comes from just like, you know, some of the like pedophile jokes or, you know, just like really dark humor.
Don't they improvise the whole thing on
Curb? That's another thing that I've always been a huge fan of improvisation in film and TV. So I think people that are able to do that.
Well, improv is one thing, but making a show, I mean, that must be a nightmare. Do they have like 8 cameras at a time?
I don't know. They have an outline, at least script-wise, and then so everyone knows what's supposed to happen in a scene, but their reactions and stuff are all improvised, which is great.
Because I tried to make some kind of web series at some point, just like that. Yeah. All improv, and then all the coverage and takes were so wildly different, I couldn't even edit.
Oh, yeah?
Because we filmed it with one camera.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's why I ask. I feel like they must have like 5 at a time.
Probably. Yeah, and you'd have to use that one take where all the dialogue's lining up right.
Yeah, they can only use like B footage from other takes.
Well, I mean, think of those movies Christopher Guest does where he does that, though. Those are movies.
Oh, man.
You know?
And they did it back in the day when it was still film.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show. I was like at a bar and I saw Best in Show on the wall. They had all these VHSs and I was like, oh man, yeah, that.
I like Best in Show. I saw it for the first time like a week ago.
Oh really? You hadn't seen it all this time?
Like, I'm a fan of those mockumentaries, and I love Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah, that one's.
I just never seen Best in Show for whatever reason.
That was like one of his most popular ones.
Is it?
The dog show and.
Yeah. It's the most known one, I think.
Right, and Parker Posey with the bee, the bee toy, going back to bees.
Oh man,
that's just one of the funniest scenes in the pet store. But yeah, all that shit's great.
She's in a weird Pepsi commercial with Jimmy Fallon.
Really? Right now?
Random. Yeah.
That is random.
No, not now. It was a while ago, a few years ago.
It's so random.
It's weird where they're like dancing on either side of the street.
That's weird.
Yeah, it sounds like a shitty commercial now.
Yeah, sounds horrible.
Okay, so you make music. What genre is yours? Is more psychedelic, right? Like electronic psychedelic?
Yeah, that's kind of been my thing since I started making music. It's always been a little electronic, mostly psychedelic. Just whatever I can make like the trippiest kind of sounding stuff.
I like it. So you have your own record label, right? Yeah. Correct? Yeah. What's that called? It's
Slime or Slimy Records. You can pronounce it either way. But it's really, it's spelled like it's an anagram of my name, my first name, Myles. So SLYME. And yeah, I started that in 2009 just to put out my first EP. And it's really funny because I did have it, you know, as a web label too. And someone hit me up like 2 years ago and was like, oh man, like I know Slime Records, like you guys are like OG, like a web label. And I was like, wow, I didn't really think of it like that, Like
a web label versus a regular record label?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, I put out CDs too.
Yeah.
But it was like one of the few, I guess, that utilized Bandcamp to sell digital music, which is like all the fucking rage.
I love Bandcamp.
Oh yeah,
it's so cool.
Actually, the best thing about Bandcamp is it doesn't screw over people like SoundCloud does, which is actually my other label. I guess to jump ahead, but I have Pedicure Records as another label, and SoundCloud just recently said that they're going to start taking down mixes people make. If
Really?
Without even monitoring the content or anything, they're just going to start removing all the mixes, which totally defeats the purpose of that site. So I, have a few mixes that people have put out as releases, and I've navigated everything to Bandcamp now as a backup in case shit goes down with SoundCloud. Because, man, they just keep putting so many restrictions on their site that it's just fucking ridiculous. So.
Yeah, you're right. I've been finding myself doing the same thing. Bandcamp is the backup, but SoundCloud is kind of... Because SoundCloud is kind of the YouTube for music.
It's more social. It's more interactive.
Mm-hmm.
Just the layout and everything is... Bandcamp is so, like, stationary and isolated in a certain way. I mean, you can search by tags and stuff, but it won't give you recommended tracks or anything.
It's more something you need, like, a link to get to the right place.
Right, yeah. So, that's kind of shitty that SoundCloud's doing that, but... Just waiting for a new platform, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, SoundCloud has definitely been tumultuous the last year or two.
Oh man, yeah.
They went public and they're trying to go the YouTube route, but I think the problem is they're just taking shit down. They're not like, at least YouTube has a copyright claim system. Even if it's broken, they have a system in place. Hey, sorry, that's my cat Charlie. He's mischievous.
That's cool.
But continue.
Yeah, so, like, the problem also is they use bots to just scan for artist names and shit. And even to the point where people that own the content are getting flagged for copyright for their own music because no one is fucking, like, double-checking what's going on.
Because they just have, like, algorithms.
Yeah, because they're just searching algorithms or whatnot, and it's just, like, the laziest, stupid thing. It's like if you had a robot policeman just pulling everyone over for... Oh
God, this is what's going to happen to our society when robots take over.
Yeah, this is a good indication of where our society is going to go.
It's going to be like when your screen freezes, but they have guns.
Yeah.
Oh God.
You'll only just lose your life or your head. So, yeah, it's just getting worse and worse. But, Bandcamp still going strong. Whoever comes up with the next platform that's like SoundCloud, without all this bullshit, I swear to God, they're going to be raking in the money.
Yeah, dude, everyone, me too, we're waiting for the next audio SoundCloud kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because SoundCloud they're fucking up, really.
Oh, yeah, they're fucking up big time.
So you think, one of my questions is the future of SoundCloud. Do you think SoundCloud is doomed?
There's no future for SoundCloud.
That's a quote, there's no future.
If they keep doing what they're doing, man. I mean, taking off mixes, I just heard about that like a week or two ago. Like, what's next? Man. Basically, everyone's going to have to pay to even be on it, I'm sure. That's going to kill all your free users. It's just going to kill everything.
Yeah, and people like me, I don't want to pay. I'm still using the free one.
Yeah, it's just becoming so... All the restrictions are becoming too much. Even when you listen to a track for 30 seconds and then they throw an ad at you, it's like, come on, Yeah,
ads are tricky. It's such a slippery slope.
Yeah. It's just, it was supposed to be something for the users. I mean, they're like, well, we have Mixcloud, which is what, me and James use for What's New to Netflix Instant. But, it's not the same, because some people just want to put up a track,
And so you say at this moment, SoundCloud is a little bit better for that?
Yeah. SoundCloud's still good for what it is.
It's more known. Mixcloud, I didn't even know about Mixcloud till our podcast.
Yeah. I mean, Mixcloud's definitely for more podcasts and stuff like that.
That's where this is going to go.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. But SoundCloud is just a good idea gone wrong, I guess. They're just, yeah.
Well, they got to pay the bills. All those servers cost money, but,
They're making enough. They're just getting greedy.
They already have ads, don't they?
Yeah. They have everything they need already. I don't know what they're trying to do.
Heads up their asses.
Seriously. It's like they don't even realize, why people are using their website anymore. It's like it just boggles my mind. It's like do you know why people use this? Like,
There are probably a bunch of people like in a boardroom deciding it, you know? People that are not on the ground level.
yeah, I mean, some of my friends have had their entire accounts deleted. You know?
Fuck.
Yeah.
That happens on YouTube.
Yeah, without warning either. Like literally, my one friend was just like, "Oh yeah, I just logged in and it was gone."
God, see, that's why you need at least some system that says, hey, we're going to delete it if you don't.
And that's why my friends kept saying, "Hey, you should have backup for your label since it's
Ooh,
getting
yeah.
kind of big, on its level." So yeah, I definitely had to do that. A lot of people use Dropbox too. Like they don't even use. There's an option you can download tracks right off of SoundCloud, but a lot of people just have a Dropbox link.
So they'll just do a Dropbox link for
There's ways around.
their
Yeah,
fans?
yeah. Like one of my friends does like Nightcore. That's another scene that I'm part of, which is essentially just speeding up pop music. There's a big YouTube fan base for Nightcore.
I like Nightcore as well.
It's very anime kind of sounding, if that makes sense. But a lot of people want to give credit to the original, but they can't because bots will flag their shit. So they just do it in like Unicode or like use like numbers and stuff in place of letters. Just there's ways to work around it.
That reminds me of remember Napster?
Yeah.
When like right after Napster got taken down, you could still download like Sum 41 songs.
Yeah.
But you had to spell it wrong.
Oh, really?
This reminds me of that.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's just like everyone's trying to find. I mean, I stopped giving credit completely because I just didn't want to risk it.
Oh, so the bot looks at like your description credits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man, talk about backfire.
Yeah. So a big question, like people will be like, "Well, why don't you give credit?" And it's like, it's not because we're trying to screw anyone over. It's because SoundCloud's fucking fascist regime.
It's the man holding us back.
It's a bunch of robots shooting us in the ass. So that's why we do that.
Well, speaking of the system, I think this is a good time to talk about it. Have you heard about H3H3 Productions?
No.
They're a popular YouTuber group. They make funny stuff.
Okay.
They recently they did they do reaction videos as well, and they did one about this guy named the Bold Guy, and he does like parkour but comedy. It's really cringy.
Comedy parkour.
Yeah, it's good but cringy. And they did like a react video, and then that guy sued them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
This is like a big deal in the industry, or the YouTube quote unquote industry.
Right.
Because he sent him a letter with his lawyer saying, basically, give me $4,000 and take down your video, and and they said no, because if they agreed, that sets a legal precedence. Anytime you do a react video, and because YouTube and SoundCloud, they're very a lot of it is they'll take other media and incorporate it into their media, which I think is like what makes it good. Yes, thank you. So it's a big deal. They have like a big crowdfund for their lawyers, and they're going to court, and it's going to be a big deal.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Does it even have footage of his video in the reaction video?
It does.
Oh, okay. That might be a problem.
And like YouTube, we understand it's a react video, but it's going to go to court with a jury.
God.
So I don't know.
What an asshole.
I know, right? Excuse me. So whenever we find out what happens, it's gonna...
Maybe he'll have a parkour accident before the trial.
Ooh, I hope not.
Sorry.
Getting
a little too dark there.
He's real douchey, though, the Bold guy.
Yeah.
Always gonna sue us.
When you said that, I just imagined some guy jumping buildings like with pies in his hand. Like juggling.
What?
Because he said he's comedy parkour.
Well, it's like weird, like scripted skits.
Okay.
There's one where like... I don't even know. It's so weird. It's just weird. It's cringy.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I mean, there's just... it's funny for me, because I've made music that I've heard other people sample and not give credit to me. And I'm totally, like... I'm flattered, though. Yeah. Because it's like, well... Because, the thing is, I probably... Whatever they use, I probably sampled, maybe. You know? And it's like... who can claim ownership for anything, really? Like, it's like if someone plays, like, a specific chord on the guitar, like an E chord, no one has a copyright to that. Yeah. And can you imagine if somebody did, and you'd have to pay, like, a certain amount of money for playing a chord on your guitar?
That's crazy.
Like, that's where we're going, though, I feel like, with all these conversations and stuff about copyright and ownership.
Yeah.
Like, what really belongs to anybody, really? I mean...
It's very tricky. It's you get they're splitting hairs. Like Luc Besson got sued for copyright of some movie he made, and they won.
Oh wow!
And it's hard to prove that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just too tricky. I just don't think it gets too like metaphysical, if that makes any sense. Where it's just too abstract to even kind of.
Yeah, you're right. Like, how do we begin to regulate this?
Yeah, I mean, even like the old copyright of if something's out for like 100 years, it's public domain. Mm-hmm. It's like essentially saying that person's dead. Yeah. Well, what if they're not?
Right. But what these days?
What if they're like 120?
These days, I believe it.
Or whatever. But you know, it's just kind of weird to think that eventually something's going to be the public anyway. Mm-hmm. So.
There's always people trying to make money and lawyers trying to make money off of that.
I think your fans will give you money.
Yeah.
If they really want to support you. There's other ways to make... You can sell shirts. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a thing.
You know, you can sell
merchandising.
Vinyl or whatever. You know, yeah, I think a lot of people make more... I've made more money just selling collectible shit that has my music on it, like VHS tapes and floppy disks and...
I like that. You would take the VHS tape and record over it your videos and music, right?
Yeah, I made handmade... In an edition of 100, a handmade VHS copy for people.
You made 100 of those?
No, but I mean, they were made to order.
Yeah.
You can still order them, actually.
And didn't you put, like, you had, like, art on them
yeah,
as well, right?
I'd cut out art and then make, like, weird, like, ransom note collage art.
That was really cool. I liked it, and I liked...
Yeah, people bought them.
The floppy disk thing.
Yeah, people bought those, too.
That was genius.
And thank you. And I also just put out a wooden USB drive, which were custom made, so that was cool too.
Dude, I want one now.
Yeah, I'll just give you one.
A wooden one?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, you know, you gotta just think of different ways. It's like, and the thing is, like, people can just buy all my stuff. It's pay what you want.
Yeah.
And I do get money, you know.
I think that's a good way to do it these days with online distribution.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to steal. Like, people are gonna do it anyways.
Oh yeah, and if you're like one of these people that has like millions of listeners and shit, trust me, you'll get money. Yeah,
they say in the music industry, at least with hip hop, if you have every 1,500 streams equals one album sold.
Really?
Usually that's like the average 1,500. One person will buy it. What do you think? Have you heard that figure?
I haven't. No, I don't know. I can't go off that.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? You know, everyone's different. Everything's different.
Yeah, it's constantly changing.
I think it's weird to just generalize like that and just be like, well, that's how it is, though.
Yeah, it does seem a bit corporate-y to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just weary when I hear shit like that, but... You know, I think most people, if you're a musician, you make your music playing shows.
Yeah, live performance is usually where the money is at.
Yeah, I would say. And merch.
Yep, merch like T-shirts.
Yeah. And vinyl's still, you know, a pretty popular thing for, you know, kids for some reason. No, just kidding.
Well, I mean, I'm usually like a resolution whore. Like, I want it to be 1080.
Yeah, I have vinyl too, so.
But at the same time, I'm the person who goes, the CD sounds fine. What's the difference?
Yeah, I know. It's really minute, honestly. The conversation of perfect sound quality is just as meaningless as copyright, in my opinion, because you can listen to so many things in different ways. It's like,
yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. Like, you could have, like, it depends on your headphones and what your internet is.
It depends on your ears. If you've damaged your ears, then who are you to say what sounds better or not? And all these audio files and shit, it's like, just shut up, you know? Like, I think every format has a purpose. And there's no, like, better or worse. It just depends on what you're going for. Like, you know, there's so much music out there. Like,
I really like how they still have a vinyl day. Is that right?
Record store day?
Record store day? That's cool.
It's cool. I mean, I hate to be, like, a cynic, but it's kind of become one of those things where record labels are now utilizing that to push a lot of stuff. And a lot of shit that I don't think people need, even. Like,
well, they'll have stuff that's like you can only buy it on record store day.
That's just kind of shitty to me. Because you know, all you're doing is having these people come in, buy like 50 copies of it, and flipping it on eBay for 3 times as much, like 2 months later.
Oh, of course they sell it on eBay.
Yeah. So it's like a way to turn people into fucking greedy corporate whores, I guess.
Greedy corporate whores.
Yeah, I think that was like a Nirvana shirt or something.
Is it? It sounds like a good shirt. It
sounds like a Nirvana shirt.
Greedy corporate whores, track 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's interesting to talk about, though.
Interesting. So, I'm not even sure what our time is, but, so talk about, all right, we talked about your record label and Pedicure Records.
Yeah, Pedicure Records. That was a label that started on SoundCloud as a primary source of distribution. And I wasn't the first to do that. I think one of the first labels to do that was PC Music, which was a British label. And I don't think... And they became so popular, and no one thought of using SoundCloud as a distribution method for music. They thought it was more of a preview.
Yeah.
You know? And so that kind of changed the game. And then overnight, like, me and, like, you know, a couple of other web labels just popped up, and we're all, like, putting out digital singles and nothing physical at all.
I like that. As a millennial, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's cool to have something that's like hard to Google and is only on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel like, oh man, like, oh, I found this thing.
Yeah, you mentioned that one time in one of our discussions about how it'll be on SoundCloud, but it's like it's not archived. Like it's gonna get deleted, and the only way you can download it is to download it on our SoundCloud.
Oh yeah, that's another thing SoundCloud did is they put a limit on how many you could download. So after a while, it's like you had like 200 downloads and shit would just go. And then you'd have people like all over the internet being like, oh, does anyone have like a 320, you know, MP3 of like this track or shit? And then...
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's also cool to see sites like, you know, anything to MP3 and like, you know...
Oh yeah.
Purposefully that you can just rip audio off of. I just think that's kind of like... awesome.
Yeah, it's very
convenient. They have it for Bandcamp too, actually.
Do they?
A Bandcamp downloader. Well, the guy that keeps making it, you know, he keeps getting in trouble.
Of course.
But he'll just change the name, and it'll pop up again, which is cool.
Yeah, they have only a limited number of downloads for free on Bandcamp.
Yeah, that's true too. Mm-hmm.
But you sell albums on Bandcamp as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have a good option for merch. I sell shirts on there.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Stickers. Yeah, they really know what they're doing on Bandcamp, honestly. There might be some limitations, but, I mean, nothing anyone's complaining too much about, really, compared to SoundCloud.
Yeah, Bandcamp, it's very, like, the interface is very clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really good. It's just easy to navigate. I like it.
Nice. All right, well, I think we're getting short on time. Okay. But, excuse me, wow, first episode. Anyways, so where can people find you? Where can they, because didn't you just make a new album?
Yeah.
Like a month ago?
Yeah, an album I made in 2014 just came out. On a digital label. Okay. It's getting a physical release on a tape label eventually, but yeah, you can find all that. If you go to SoundCloud, just type in Treasure Hunt. I'm actually like the only Treasure Hunt that has like more than 20 people following him.
Nice.
So you can find me pretty easily. I have a picture of a dinosaur, a raptor on there. Pedicure Records, again, you can find that on Google now. It's like pretty easy. We have like articles and shit written on us and stuff. So that's really easy to find. We have a YouTube channel, Pedicure Records does. It's all really easy to find, though.
All right, so if you want to find Myles and his music, go to SoundCloud, to Pedicure Records, or Treasure Hunt.
Yeah, treasurehuntmusic.com.
There you go. I like it. All right, well, I think that's the end of the episode for today.
Okay.
I think this went quite well. It was enjoyable for me. Was it for you?
Yeah, I love talking about this shit. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk for like 4 more hours.
Oh, yeah, about like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we'll just have to have you come back on another episode.
Oh, yay.
Oh, yeah.
That's so fun.
In the meantime, you can also check out a podcast that we do called What's New to Netflix Instant.
Yeah, that's really fun.
And that's on Tumblr. You can search it on Facebook as well.
Mixcloud, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what is the email for that show if you want to request a movie?
It's What's New to Netflix Instant at Gmail. It's all one word. And... if you listen to our podcast, we'll have like a bunch of titles and you can pick from. And we can't do shows though because those take up too much time.
Yeah, and the title has to be from the streaming list.
Yeah.
But check it out. We do it once a month. We're going to record a new one like at the end of the week.
Right. Just basically look at any of the titles that are coming this month.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. So you don't even have to listen to our show to pick a title.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if you did.
And you should, because the next one is going to be a Dolph Lundgren episode.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Double the Dolph.
Yes, double the Dolph.
Which is what we all need.
Also a bit of Adam Sandler.
Yeah. But mostly Dolph.
Yes, mostly.
So.
All right, well, that's all, folks. I think I'm going to end it. Thank you for tuning in to the Temporary Space Network. This is our official podcast. This is the first episode. You can find us on YouTube. Just go to TemporarySpace.net. That's the official website. And I guess I'm going to sign off for now. There's going to be a little music transition. I'll close out the show later. But thank you for coming, Myles. This is awesome.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, actually.
Yes.
It was like more than I thought I would.
Yes. All right, well, that's all. So I'll talk to you later. Bye. Alright folks, it's about the end of the line. I want to thank Myles Dunhill for being an exceptional first guest on our exceptional first episode. In summary, the trends we talked about today are cloud computing is officially taking over, VR is growing whether we like it or not, the major TV entities are finally going online, Netflix is not top dog anymore, although it's not down for the count just yet, modular phones are the future, physical movie theaters are on their last leg, and finally, consoles are turning into PCs. As usual, my links are in the description. If you'd like more information about us, about this network, just go to the website TemporarySpace.net. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to the Temporary Space Network. Subscribe if you like information. That's all, folks.